She better finish explaining.
What?
We are bored of this world. Everyone always talks big, declaring all the great things they'll do. But then they always fizzle out. This world is just so desperately fucking boring!
What are you talking about? In a way, I'm jealous of all of you. To give yourself over so completely to such stimulating despair.
Yeah, so figure out the rest for yourselves! I'm sick of expositioning all this shit!
Figure out what?
Figure out where your memories come apart. That's at the heart of all of this.
Where our memories come apart. She's talking about the moment where we must have lost our memories? I can only think of one time. Just after I set foot in the main hall for the first time, and that was... when I fainted? Acceptance letter or at the entrance ceremony? I don't remember. I'll say when I fainted.
I got it!
I guess that's it, I don't remember.
The moment I lost my memories. I can't think of any time other than that day.
The day when he entered the school for the first time, right? He passed out in the hallway and then he woke up in a classroom.
When I first came to the gates of this school and stepped foot in the main hall. When I passed out, I was overcome with a strange sensation.
Wow, you still have enough spirit to keep on talking, huh? So I don't know much about the details, but it seems like everyone remembers passing out, right? And your sense of time got all messed up because of the memory loss after that? I guess it must have been something like that.
After I passed out, I woke up in a classroom with my head on a desk.
Yep.
I assumed not much time had passed since I'd collapsed in the main hall.
But instead, 2 whole years had gone by.
The reason it felt so short was because our memories of the time in between had been completely removed.
You got it, honey! 2 years of memories? Poof! Gone! Which means, of course...
When everyone met for the first time, it wasn't actually for the first time.
Of course.
Unaware of this fact, you took the time to introduce yourselves to each other, but by that point, we'd already spent 2 years together at the school. That's what those photos reveal, isn't it?
Yep, that's what they reveal. You were all such close friends. You spent 2 years together, and then you started killing each other. And it was all so you could escape into a world that's already been annihilated. What a terribly tragic tale. Even if you left now, there's nothing you could do to fix it.
You're the one who set things up to be like this!
I love you all so much.
What?
Once your school life here began, I thought about you constantly. It's only natural that I would fall in love.
Oh my god, she just gets worse and worse, even more nutty by the second.
So, since I love you guys so much, I'll tell you all about it! All about the idea we came up with as the ultimate despair! Our plan to bring despair to all mankind!
The ultimate despair, all mankind?
Let's go back in time 2 years, okay? Back to when everyone first came to this school. School life during that first year overflowed with hope and happiness. Oh boy, it was just the worst! Everyone was enjoying themselves so much! You were all having the time of your lives!
But that couldn't last forever, of course. The peacefulness only made it through that first year. Because after that, an event unfolded that hammered a soul-crushing despair into all of humanity.
Yes, they called it the Baroning.
The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. The tragedy.
I like how they actually are making it like they're not going to actually be specific. They're just going to show you a bunch of random images and make you speculate what happened, I guess. They're not actually going to give a definitive answer to what the tragedy was.
All too soon, the world's days of peace came to a bloody end. And as you can imagine, the school was no exception. The tragedy even made its way here, leading to the extermination of most of the students.
What are you?
What do you mean?
The most tragic event in human history, and the ultimate despair that caused it. I can't believe it's all because of just you and Mukuro. Was it some kind of organization? An angry mob? An incredibly motivated family?
You have a point. If I had to describe it, I'd say it was none of those. How can I put it? It was more of an ideological thing. Despair is contagious, you know. It's almost like a natural phenomenon. Everyone is capable of it. And now the entire world has fallen into despair.
In other words, if you see despair as the enemy, then your enemy is the world itself.
I just don't understand why.
We didn't ask you to try to understand. This was a tangent anyway, unrelated to the matter at hand.
Okay, so let's get back to the story. Hope's Peak had taken so much damage. You guys were the only survivors. The members of the 78th class of Hope's Peak Academy were the only ones left.
And then, something super neat happened! Now pay attention, because this is important, and I'm only gonna say it once! So guess what? To protect everyone who had survived, Hope's Peak was transformed into a shelter! That's right! It was transformed into a shelter! Ah, I said it twice!
Now, someone was responsible for that transformation, for creating what would eventually become your prison. Do any of you know who that might have been?
The one who turned Hope's Peak into a shelter and isolated us here. The headmaster.
I got it!
Haha.
Could only have been the headmaster of Hope's Peak Academy. He wanted to turn the school into a shelter to try and protect us. To protect us from the despair and tragedy taking place outside. That's why he asked us to make that promise. To say that we were willing to live in this school forever.
We believe he had something like that in mind, yes. If you, the collective hope of a new generation, could survive, maybe the world could have a fresh start.
Yeah, the headmaster put that much faith in you.
And because we had that same hope, that's why we all agreed to live here forever.
Forever!
But creating the shelter was also his single biggest mistake. It's laughable, really. He was the headmaster, but he had no idea. He had no idea that we, the ultimate despair, had already made our way into the school.
So apparently not only were these two teenage girls the source of the entire world being fucked up, then they snuck into the shelter school that was supposed to save the world to fuck this up too. Of course!
So what was supposed to be a shelter to keep you safe became a cage that made it impossible for you to escape despair. I have to say, it really helped me out a lot. It saved me a ton of time.
By the way, it was you yourselves who blocked off the windows, the doors, all the exits.
Oh, wow.
Under the headmaster's direction, you all went about your work like obedient little sheep.
You mean we trapped ourselves in here?
And then you forgot all about it and started bitching about how you were trapped in here.
Once you'd finished building your little shelter, it was time for me and Mukuro to get to work. And thus began the killing game.
Me and Mukuro had come here, spending the last 2 years waiting for that moment.
That moment where you all began killing each other served as the climax of our global despair plan.
And the only reason you survived the tragedy was so that you could be a part of it.
They let us live? So we could go around killing each other? Is that what you're saying?
Why? Why would you do that?
Because this was so much more than a simple high school deathmatch. Rather, it was a method to hunt down and destroy every last remaining speck of hope in the world.
What are you saying?
Well, it would seem that there's a little bit left out there. A few souls unwilling to give up hope. So I thought I should show them, which is why
Well, why don't you tell me?
Oh my god. She keeps stopping her explanations to make us figure out more shit that she could just tell us. Oh.